everybody, and welcome to another episode of Make Things Club. It's been a month since I have posted anything or thought about wanting to podcast or generally getting around to it, so today is the day. I believe this is episode 20, but I didn't check beforehand, so I don't know. There's going to be a lot of that happening this episode. I didn't look at my show notes from the previous episode, so I don't know what I've talked about and what I haven't talked about. But we're just going to go with it, because if you're like me and you don't watch my episodes regularly, then you're going to need a refresher too. So we're just going to go with it. So for those of you who are new, thank you so much for joining me. This is really exciting to have a couple new subscribers and have new people to interact with. So welcome. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for checking me out again. Right. My name is Sarah, and I'm recording from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, where I live with my fiance and my 2 cats, and it is too warm. That's like a reoccurring theme. I honestly think one of the reasons why I don't want to podcast in the summer is because I feel disgusting and I don't want to share that with anybody. So I'm eagerly awaiting fall and cooler temperatures, but that comes with a caveat where in the winter we have the worst winters usually. And there's snow everywhere and you don't want to drive and it's cold. So I'm just basically the least likely person to be happy with anything. Anyways, if you want to follow along on my adventures in life, knitting, cats, food, and random other things, I am most active on social media on Instagram, and you can find me as Loose Pages there. I do post stuff on Twitter, but I don't know if anybody wants to really be involved there, so that's cool. But basically anywhere that I have a login, you can find me as Loose Pages. So that's Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter. That's pretty much it. On Ravelry, you can find me as Romperlust. My username was taken on that one, so I am Romperlust on Ravelry. There is also a group for the podcast where I post show notes, and there's other information and chatter threads if you want to be involved, and you can find that by going to the groups tab and searching for Make Things Club Podcast. I believe that's it for intros. So I just wanted to say a couple things first off, and number one is thank you to everyone who's been watching. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you to new viewers. Thank you to people who've been inspiring me. I've been doing a lot of watching of podcasts and a lot of knitting in the meantime, and kind of thinking about the state of my life and what I actually want for myself. So needless to say, it's been an emotional 4 weeks, I guess. And can we just stop for a second and talk about the national emotions hangover that was the Tragically Hip concert yesterday? I never considered myself a Hip fan, but of course growing up in Canada and having a brother who is 5 years older than me really kind of influenced a lot of the music that I was surrounded by. So I think I wanted to watch the last concert. For those of you who don't know, so I'll just kind of backtrack for a second, because I feel a lot of people are just kind of experiencing what the Tragically Hip are. They never really broke anywhere else other than Canada, so I know a lot of Americans don't really know who they are, and they've probably been hearing a lot about them over the last couple of days, but they're basically like our Bruce Springsteen or REM or any other kind of like, you know, really well-written lyrics, kind of national icons. The lead singer, Gord Downie, was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and they revealed that back in May, so they did a cross-country final tour as like a, I don't know, saying goodbye, fan appreciation thing, and yesterday was their last concert, which was in their hometown of Kingston, Ontario. So the CBC broadcast it live, uninterrupted, no ads, anything like that. And like I said, I'm not really considering myself a Hip fan, but I knew it was part of one of our national moments and I wanted to be a part of it. So I watched the feed yesterday and cried like the entire time. So it was a very powerful show, very wonderful. It was just a good way to, you know, better to burn out than to fade away kind of thing. So yeah, I kind of feel like everyone in Canada today is just a little emotionally spent. But it was a fantastic opportunity to see something amazing and know that I was sharing that moment and those tears and those feelings with thousands and thousands of other people. So it was a pretty hefty night, that's for sure. Another thing that's kind of been keeping me from podcasting the last little bit is personal growth, I guess. There's been a lot of thinking about, like I said, the state of my life and what I want for myself and how I kind of feel like I am really good at sabotaging me accomplishing goals. So there's been, like, I don't want to be like stereotypical, but we all know about my issues with depression and anxiety. So there's been some breakthroughs at therapy the last couple weeks, and there's been a lot of figuring out those things with my fiance. And my fiance applied to be an astronaut last week. So the Canadian Space Agency has 2 vacancies that they're looking to fill, and he wants one. So he submitted his application on Monday, and there's only been, and I say only because I was expecting a lot more, about 3,000 applications that went through. And those are just people that meet the bare minimum. They don't include anyone who's actually done any specialized training, which my fiance has. So I'm kind of coming to grips with the fact that I might need to be a little bit flexible in terms of just my life, I guess. There's a chance that if he gets this position, we're going to be moving to Houston, Texas, which is going to be a huge change for me because I've never really considered wanting to live in the States. I've always wanted to stay in Canada. It's really far from my family. It'll be one of those things where I'm like basically starting over completely with no friends, no job, nothing. So there's been a lot of me kind of feeling that through and just what that would look like for me, how I would manage that, all that kind of stuff. So the first thing I did was Google yarn shops, and Houston has like 7 of them. So backup plan, I want to work at one of those. So yeah, it's just been a lot of like figuring things out and just kind of experimenting with what these changes could mean and how I'm going to deal with it, because it's one of those things where I can't just say no. So if you guys have any advice, I know a lot of people that I watch have moved and don't live around their family, and you know, I tend to be a little bit scared about that kind of stuff and feel really overwhelmed and anxious, whereas I watch other people and even my friends or people that have just kind of moved around a lot. How do you do it? Like for me, I really get scared when it comes to changes, and I tend to catastrophize things where it's automatically going to be really awful so that it makes it easier for me when it's not. But that's not a healthy way to live your life, and I feel like I stopped living my life because of that. So if you guys have any advice on how to just be open to experiences instead of scared of them, I would really love to hear that. Anyways, you guys are here for knitting, and I actually have knitting, and I have other things. I made some things, so we're putting the things in the things club this time. So I guess we'll go into some of the knitting stuff. And I don't really have a structure when it comes to just talking about works in progress, just talking about finished objects and that kind of thing, just because so many of them are interlaced with each other and there is a lot of overlap. So I'm just going to go through basically project by project and discuss it. So there's not going to be the usual thing where I just show off all the things I finished and then all the things I'm working on and then all the things that I bought. It's just going to be like a big family reunion of yarn. So the first thing that I'll kind of talk about is the knit-alongs that I'm either hosting or that I'm working through. And the first one I think we'll kind of mention is the Canada KAL. So for those of you who don't know, this was a KAL that started on July 1st, which was Canada Day. Basically you're supposed to showcase anything Canadian, so it could be Canadian yarn, Canadian pattern, Canadian themes, anything like that. So I actually have a finished object for that. And my Canada bag, which is the sloth bag from Jess at Haven, which is also full of yarn that I bought from her a couple weeks ago when I went to the market. So there's a White Barn market, and I usually will go when I know Jess is there. So this is also a stash enhancement. That's also a ball. That's also a finished object. So just like I said, it's all just going to be a big mess. So this is a worsted weight yarn that I picked up from her, and of course she was sleeping. Like, she was sleeping 5 minutes before I started. This cat just doesn't let me do anything. Anyways, this is a worsted weight yarn from Jess. It's a beautiful speckled yarn, and it's called Wild Meadow. So here's her tag, and there's the back. So I wanted to knit a hat with this, and I wanted to knit Sylvia Sylvia's swoon hat. And Sylvia is a Canadian designer. You'll probably know about her if you've watched my podcast before. I adore her patterns, and I've knit quite a few of them already. But she is Soft Sweater Knits, and you can find her as Soft Sweater on Ravelry. And I made her swoon hat, so you can kind of see how gorgeous this yarn is. Now, the pattern calls for a range of 6 to 8 inches in ribbing for the hat. I didn't do enough. I like the slouch, she calls it the East Vancouver punk hats, and I really like those, and I thought, well, I would knit a punk hat out of this gorgeous speckled yarn just because I'm not quite as punk as I wish I was. But I did 7 inches before I started the decreases, and I don't like how it fits me. So, oh, it looks cool when my hair's up. I don't know what to do. But I feel like the top is a bit too pointy. And anyways, I've basically resigned myself to the fact that I'm going to be frogging this. I think that for the look that I want on the hat, because you've got this like tip, and I don't want the tip. I want it to be a little bit more rounded. But I think Stella's the worst. I think with the shape of this hat and the weight of the yarn, I think that they just don't match up very well. And because I love this yarn so much, I want a project that I can wear the absolute hell out of because it's gorgeous. Like, I just can't. I can't get over it. So I'm gonna be frogging this, I believe, and I need another hat pattern. What should I make with this? I don't like cables very much, so I don't want to do too many, I don't want to do a cabled hat. I really want the yarn to sparkle, so I want it to be somewhat stockinette based. And I also want it to be a little slouchy. And I need a pattern suggestion. What should I make? It's gorgeous, I can't handle it. And it's so squishy. I could just do this for hours. Let me fix my lighting. Always the lighting. But yeah, if you have a suggestion for this, let me know. I'm thinking I might do, oh, there's a pattern by Tin Can Knits, and I think Jess made it herself. I was looking at the yarn on Ravelry just to see if anybody else had ideas, and I believe Jess knit a Tin Can Knits pattern, which I can't remember the name of right now, out of her own yarn, and I think I might copy her and do the same thing. But honestly, I can't. Like, it's so pretty. So I want it to be something that I would wear every day. I don't want it to be something where I have to have my hair up to wear it. Also, if I was to reknit this pattern, I wouldn't do the large. The way that it sits on the head, I'd like the rim to be a little bit tighter because if I move, it falls off. So I think I would only do the smaller size just so that it stays on my head properly. Anyways, I'm sad. This took a long time because it's all 1x1 rib. If you have any secrets, because my entire life right now is 1x1 rib and I hate it. So if you have any tips or tricks on how to speed up that 1x1 rib knitting process, let me know. I've been looking on YouTube and I don't think that there's I don't think there's a trick. I think you just have to do it. But I'm really tired of doing it, and you'll see why. So this was 1x1 rib basically the entire time. And I'm so sad I have to frog it because for a hat, it took a really long time. So it'll be a sad frog when I frog this. But if you have any hat suggestions for what that beautiful yarn could be, let me know because I am open to suggestions. So that's one finished object, and even though I'm frogging it, I still submitted it to like every knit along thread because I deserve a little bit of like chance to win something for the amount of time that it took me to do that. The second project that I'm working on for the Canada KAL is my forager scarf, and this is a pattern by Nicola Hodges, who is Tiny Island Textiles, I believe. She works a lot with Sylvia for pattern design or test knitting, and she usually models Sylvia's patterns as well. So this is one of her own patterns, and I'm having a really hard time with it. So the last time I showed it, I didn't have any of the lace done, or I was just about to start the lace, but I had to frog back because for some reason I put a row of stockinette where it shouldn't have been. So I had to frog back and start basically from the increases, so from about right here, when you're blowing out. But I'm having a really hard time with this. So here's what it looks like. And seriously, I am so bad for choosing awkward patterns that I can't show very well. So basically this is just like the lace section, and once you get to a certain point, this side starts crossing over into the other side. I'm using, you're really having a hard time, camera. I'm using, calm down. I'm using Sweet Fiber Canadian yarn in the flannel colorway, which is a yarn dyer. Melissa Thompson from Vancouver dyes this yarn. So yeah, I'm having a really hard time. There is always a one stitch off situation. Either I have one too many or I have one too few, and I can never figure out where it is or what I did. So this whole section here looks like a little bit of a cluster cuss. And I'm really not having so much fun knitting it because it does take so much of my energy, and I have to frog back every couple rows, and it's driving me crazy. So I hate to admit it, but I'm not having a good time, and it's not the pattern. The pattern is fine. It's me not paying attention, or getting ahead of myself, or not paying attention. So yeah, it's been slow going on this, and I've got my little progress keeper from Sucra, which never moves. I feel like it just never moves. So this is the second project that it's so much fun blowing out my phone. Okay, I'll stop, I'm sorry. But this is a slow going project, and I just want it to be done because I want to start some new stuff, and I feel like I can't because I have so many things that I'm working on, and a lot of projects that are part of knit-alongs that have deadlines, and I want to win something. I feel like this is like the worst. This is the worst reason to knit stuff. It's just because I'm like, oh, there's so many KALs for this that I can enter that I just want to enter all of them. So I've been really working on projects that are enterable. Oh, and that brings me to the other KAL that I could enter with my hat, which is the Knit City KAL. So if you are going to Knit City, or you want to knit something by a Knit City vendor / designer, you could also enter that. That's being hosted by Katie of Nekozuki Knits in the Knit Social group on Ravelry. So if you haven't heard of it and you're planning on going to Knit City, get in there. I know you probably knit something this summer that was eligible, so make sure that you enter because it's pretty cool. Anyways, the other KAL that I am working through is actually my own. And that's the Knit City sweater KAL. So, like I have mentioned so many times before, this is a KAL if you're going to Knit City and you want to knit a sweater. Why should Rhinebeck have all the fun? So go ahead and join. Not to alarm you guys, but there is only 24 days left until the deadline, which I'm freaking out about. So yeah. But I'm hosting it in my Royal Bison tote bag because it's currently too big for any other project bags that I have. Anyways, I will show you some cool stuff. I almost swore. I'm trying not to swear so much. So my sweater is getting big. I have a sleeve. Check this out. There's a sleeve. I actually cast off my sleeve during the first encore of the Hip concert yesterday. So I feel like the sweater has seen me through a lot already. Probably because I've been working on it for almost 2 months. And I want to dye a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not enjoying ribbing anymore. So the sweater, is the Cross Country Cardi by Alicia Plummer. It is a paid pattern on Ravelry. And it has this, let's switch sides so it's not the window. It has this design on the back, which goes, and at the last time I was podcasting, I don't think I was finished the work stripe in the back. So it goes into this cross, and then it goes into ribbing at the bottom. That's a lot of ribbing, guys. My cats were fighting. That's a lot of ribbing. That's like 5 inches right there. And then you've got almost 5 inches on the sleeve. And then I have the other sleeve to do. And then, and I'll just put it on, even though I'm very warm, it'll be easier to show. And then you pick up all of the stitches along the neck, and along this, and along this. And then you knit another 5 inches of ribbing. This is too much ribbing for me, and I'm not having fun doing it. So I finished the sleeve, and I'm a little concerned about the cast off, I guess. And I have the same concern for the body. I refer to it as wispy to my sister-in-law, but I don't like how it flares out. And I guess because I've never knit a sweater before, this is my first time, I'm completely new to this. So if this is a normal thing that happens until you block it, please tell me, because otherwise I'm gonna rip out the bind off, and I'm gonna do something that's actually tighter. Because I don't like this. I want it to be snug. It's actually also, it feels too big. So the sweater itself, and the sleeve's not in the right place, but the sweater itself is fitting pretty fine, but I don't like the cuff being so loose. So I almost want to do like a tight bind off instead of something that's a little bit more stretchy. But if this goes away when you block it, tell me, because otherwise I'm going to be obsessing about it. And it's also kind of the same for the bind off edge here. Like, it's just really, I don't like the lack of structure to it. So if that's something that I need to block out, let me know. Otherwise, I want to do another bind off that's not so stretchy. It doesn't need to be stretchy. It's a cardigan. It's not like it fits me. It's got some positive ease in it. So I don't know. Just if you have any advice, if you've knit sweaters before, let me know, because I'm just kind of like, Jesus, take the wheel at this point. So anyways, this needs to be done soon. I am so tired of knitting it, but I really like how it looks so far. I've got second sleeve, and then ribbing until I die. And I might not do as much that the pattern asks for, because I don't necessarily want it to meet in the middle. There's no buttons or zipper or anything, it's just open. So it doesn't really need to be as long, I guess. But I also feel like that's cheating. So we'll see. As I start knitting it, we'll see how it goes. I do have a road trip coming up. Ross and I are going to Kelowna on Wednesday. So that's like a 12-hour drive right there that I can work on this. And then a 12-hour drive on Sunday when we come home. So something better be done by the time I get home, because I am drowning in WIPs right now. And I don't want to do it anymore. I'm so tired of knitting my sweater. I have so many other projects that I want to start. Alas, here we are, 24 days, 24 days. So if you're knitting a sweater and you're having a good time, you can post your progress on Instagram. The hashtag is #KCSweater2016. We also have a chatter thread. We also have a finished objects thread, and there's one post in there. So if you're working on your sweater, get on it, because there's a very good chance right now you could win prizes, because there's very little activity in it. So I know a couple of my friends are working on sweaters, and you guys better move it. Got 24 days. We can do this. We can do it. I did want to talk briefly about some of the prizes, because I always kept forgetting to do it. So in terms of prizes, I do have a skein of yarn, and I will show it off. So the winner will get a skein of yarn, and this is by my friend Allie, who is an indie dyer out of Sherwood Park. So I haven't heard from her in a while. I hope you're doing okay, Allie. But I picked up a skein of her yarn, so it's Kaleidoscope Dye Works. And this is called the Midwife's Garden. and it's got beautiful speckles on it. Lots of color. And it's a Spinalicious Ultra High Twist yarn. So it's an 80% merino superwash wool, 20% nylon, and 400 yards. So the winner will get this. Just a splash of color. So this skein is up for grabs. I also have 2 admissions to the marketplace to give away. So the ladies from Knit Social gave me 2 marketplace admissions. You can use both of them yourselves or you can give them away. As long as I have the names of who you want, I can get you added to that list. So that's worth $10 towards your marketplace admission. So if you're not taking classes or if you're not interested in doing any of the lectures, that'll come in handy because it's nice to not have to pay money to spend money. I also have some bath salts that I picked up the weekend that Ross and I went to Jasper. So we spent some time in Miette Hot Springs, and this is some of the minerals that you find in the hot springs there. So I've got this because after you knit a sweater, you deserve a bath. And I'm also going to be getting, and I should be picking this up next week when I see her, Carla from the Relentless Knitting Company, who is my sister-in-law, is going to be sewing a sweater-sized project bag to give away. And I also had Rosalind from, Rosalind is a fairly active person on Instagram and Ravelry. Her username is Dance and Knit. I met her last year at Knit City and she became we shared a bed, so we got to know each other pretty quick. But Roz has donated a project bag as well. She is going to be beginning her own Etsy shop, and that will be going under Rosberry Crafts. So she has kindly donated one of her project bags to me as well. I don't have a photo of it. If I get it, she was going to send me a picture of the fabric that she was going to use. If I don't get that before posting this video today, then I will make sure to post it on Instagram so you can check it out. So there's 2 project bags, 2 admissions to the marketplace, and a skein of yarn and some bath salts. I might throw some other stuff in there. I am looking around for just little tiny things to add in as well. So please enter the KAL, post your finished objects, make yourself a sweater. It's going to be so much fun. So let me know if you have anything that you'd like to add. Otherwise, I will be closing the KAL on September 15th. Just so I can organize everything before I leave for Vancouver. It's going to be a busy month next month, so I'd like to have everything done in advance before I leave. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you're still unsure of what this KAL is, there's lots of information on the Ravelry group, and I'm sure you've probably heard a lot about it through previous episodes as well. So there's lots of info if you need it. Stabiners, come here. Anyways. On to uncharted territory where I don't have notes anymore. I have another finished object, and this one was very close to being finished at the last episode, so this is just a refresher. But I made my color field shawl by Kemper Ray. So this ribbing was okay. So the last episode I was talking about trusting the pattern, and you know, it doesn't look like ribbing yet, but I'm gonna trust that it gets there. It doesn't when you don't read the pattern properly. So just a heads up, I had to frog back an inch of not ribbing because I screwed it up. So read your pattern. Don't trust the pattern if you're reading it wrong. Well, I guess you're still trusting the pattern, but seriously, I had some pretty main issues with making sure that I was looking at the right side and wrong side rows. I wasn't. So it's finally done, and I'm a big fan of it. So this is a pattern by Kemper Ray of junk yarn, and I used Mad Tosh Optic, so Mad Tosh DK. The speckly bits is Optic, and then the pink is leftover Opal, Cascade 220 Opal, from my Adama cowl. So I didn't actually have any issues with yarn chicken. I was really concerned that I was gonna run out. I bought another skein of Opal just because I thought I would use more of it. So I have a full skein of this color again, and I'm really excited about it because I actually really, this color is my jam lately, this light pink, if you haven't noticed. But I have another skein of this that I'm going to hopefully use into something, and I still have some opal left over. So I was really, or not opal, Mad Tosh. I was really concerned that I was going to run out for no reason. I ended up having tons left over, and I'm really happy with how this looks. I'm really excited for when I get to wear it, when it stops being hotter than hell outside. The one thing that I don't like, it's a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be, but I feel like the edge is also too tight. So I'm not sure if maybe I bound off too tight. So it is an Icelandic bind off, which was new to me, and it's just really, really tight. So I'm not sure if I did it wrong or if it's not as elasticy as the one that I usually do, which is the slip slip knit bind off, the stretchy one. That I use that basically for everything. But either way, I love it. It's really pretty. I love how the colors look together, and I'm really excited to kind of figure out how to wear it once the weather calms down a bit. So that's another finished object, so that's 2. Yay me. What else do I have to talk about? Oh, I have another other finished object. So I'm still kind of dealing with this, and I really need to be better about taking care of myself, because working on my sweater nonstop has kind of aggravated me a little bit. But my doctor started warning me about tennis elbow and making sure that I'm stretching and taking some time off. Stop it! Come here. You're ruining everything. Come here. Come here. I'm gonna grab ya. Why are you so loud every time? So loud. My doctor kind of cautioned me against all the repetitive motions because I'm young and these are important. So I took a weekend off of knitting, but because I don't feel good about myself unless I'm making something, I decided to try sewing. So I made myself a little project bag. God, these colors just don't. Kind of. You're so bad. But I made myself a project bag. So I've got my bright yellow zipper, polka dot, and then some gray at the bottom. I kind of modeled this after Nicole from Hugh Loco's holiday bag, except I adjusted the measurements. The only thing is that I typically don't understand construction of anything until I've done something once. So when I changed the measurements of the bag, I didn't, for some reason it didn't register that the bottom would also be part of this gray part. I ideally wanted my gray part to start right there. So I will definitely be remaking this bag and doing the proper proportions that I wanted in the first place. I still have tons of fabric available. So this is a project bag that I made. Okay, you know what? Sorry, you're just gonna like awkwardly watch me touch the surface of my phone that you can't see. This is a project bag that I made. It was my first time get down. It was my first time doing interfacing, using interfacing. It was my first time making a lining. And it was my first time doing these box corners. And I'll show you the stuff that I am not impressed with about myself because I should have been better at it, but once again, it's my first time, so I need to cut myself some slack. So my seam is not completely lined up perfectly, which is something that I will pay more attention to later. And then for the box corners, I was a little bit off on this one too. This side's a little bit better. But those were tricky. I had a hard time figuring those out. And it looked so easy, but I really had a hard time kind of figuring it out. So this project bag is going to be big enough for my pine bough cowl, which I will show in a second. And I'm also using a little stitch marker from Hiya Hiya. I don't like these for stitch markers, so I figured I'd use them for zipper pulls instead. So yeah, my first project bag. My cat's the worst. So yeah, pretty impressed with this. I'm happy with how it turned out. There's a lot of learning that happened in this, so next time I'll definitely know better. Yay. That pretty much brings me to the end of my finished project. So in terms of stash enhancement that I didn't talk about, I guess I can kind of show it. I have not touched this since the last time I showed it on the podcast. This is another project that I really want to be done because I want the finished object, but it's taking me 700 years to knit. I'm not even halfway through yet, so these sections here, like I mentioned before, this is one repeat of this is one section, and then you do it again until you get the stripes, and then you do it again 3 more times. So this is going to be a long haul project, but I want it done before winter because it's going to look awesome when it's cold outside. And this is the Pine Bough Cowl by Diana Walla. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I'm using Haiku Kenzie yarn in the Oceana and the Kiwi colorway. This is the yarn that was recommended for the first rendition of the pattern. It's beautiful. I really like it. It's just hard on my wrists and it takes forever. So I'm going to bring this with me in the car and hope to do a couple rounds while we're driving. And I've got my Sucra Sucra donut on there. And hopefully next time I podcast, I will have made quite a lot more towards being finished it. So like I said, I can now put that in my own project bag and be done with it. Okay, almost done here, guys. So I also bought some other yarn from Jess when we went to White Barn a couple weeks ago, and I will show those off. So I've got these two. So this one is True Sock, so it's 75/25 merino nylon, 463 yards, and this is the honeycomb colorway, and it's gorgeous. And then to go with that, I bought Over the Mountain in Fierce Fingering, which is also 75/25 Super Rush merino nylon, 335 yards, and it's gorgeous. And they go together like really, really well. So the project that I want to start with this is the Good Vibes shawl. This is a pattern by, oh god, Nadia Cretin-Lechin. I am awful at French, like I've said before. If I did any kind of French class now, they would have to beat that accent into me, but I'll show you again. So this is a paid pattern on Ravelry. It also is something that kind of scares me a little bit because there's a bunch of short rows that are actually wrapped. I've only done short rows that you just turn. I've never had to wrap them before. And also the pattern is a little, I don't want to say confusing because I have a hard time just kind of interpreting stuff. So once I get started on this and I kind of figure it out by doing a couple rows, I think it'll be fine. It's just when I read it right now and I'm not actually working on it, I'm like, what? So that's something that I want to start, and that's one of the things that I really want to start right now, but I can't because of my sweater. So a little annoying, but oh, I forgot something else. But yeah, stash enhancement. These two haven't been wound up. I'm probably gonna wind them up and take them with me to Kelowna because who can stop me? And oh, and then I also got some stitch markers from Jess as well. So yeah, her Etsy shop is Haven Yarn and Goods, and I really like her. Actually, I think the only yarn that I've really purchased over the last little bit has been her yarn. So I'm really excited to be using it because it's amazing. Another thing that I was working on, and I don't know how far I got into this when I did my last podcast, if I even did, but I bought Susan B. Anderson's Smooth Operator sock pattern, and I'm working on one. So I'm using, Heritage Prints from Cascade Yarns. This is in the Clouds colorway, and I really, really like it. I think it's so pretty. And I've got my waist yarn in. I want to knit a couple more inches on this before I put the heel in. But I am using my Haya interchangeable sock needles that came. So that's another stash enhancement. And actually you probably heard the packaging because Stella loves chewing on this plastic stuff. There's actually like tons of little cat teeth marks all over it. But I ordered it without the case because I'm not gonna lie, it's not my style. Like the Haya cases are really cool, but for me it's not what I'm personally into. So I ordered without the case because that's gonna motivate me to hopefully sew a case, a needle roll. But I basically got all of my interchangeable tips. So the tips on these are incredible. Oh, and I just noticed. How did I just notice this? So I have 2 different sizes of each with the 4 and the 5-inch tips. That's awesome. The cables in this kit are incredible. They are so pliable and so wonderful. I couldn't be happier with these. They also come with interchangeable adapters so that you can use the needles and the cords with other Haya sets. So they have, oh my goodness. Yeah, so you can do that thing. I am now starting to run out of steam. But basically so that you can use all of the other things interchangeably, which is nice. It's super nice. So I am really impressed with the sock interchangeable kit. I really, really like Haya needles. I think that I am a Haya person. And yeah, so I'm kind of enjoying knitting socks. The whole Afterthought heel experiment will be a big tester. And I'm almost there, so I will try and do the heel and just see how it goes, because if I can just knit tubes, then I might become a sock knitter. Another thing that I've noticed that I don't know if I've talked about before, get out. You are a bad girl. Another thing that I've noticed is that self-striping yarn is actually a lot more fun to knit because you're excited about what it looks like, and it's really exciting to kind of have the stripes come up. So with this yarn, I really like that it's not stripes per se. So you've got the white, and then you've got the speckled, and then you've got the gray, and then you got the other speckled. So I really like how that's looking. That's Ross's. I really like how it's looking so far. This is also the first sock that I've knit that I have actual positive or negative ease in, so I'm excited about actually being able to wear these as well, because I usually knit Rose City rollers and they were always too big, so they never really fit into shoes for me. So this one here is knit on a 2.5mm needle, which is a size, I don't know, 1.5? I don't use US, I only use millimeters to kind of figure out my needle sizes, because as I learned last year, sometimes US sizes can mean different things based on brands. So for me, these are a 2.5mm needle. I cast on 64 stitches, and usually I would use a 2.75 and cast on like 72. So we're finally on track with the gauge. Everything is working out really well with these, and I'm really happy. Oh, another thing that I forgot to mention, I had another finished object. So I knit a pair of baby socks for my friend's little baby. I'll put in a picture here because I don't have them anymore, they've been gifted. But I made Rose City rollers, the littles, for my friend's baby who was born a month ago. So for her baby shower, I gifted her a pair of those. And those were actually really fun to knit. It's a good crash course in Magic Loop on stock, just how to make socks. So I had a really fun time knitting those. They knit up really quick. I am considering knitting a pair for each of my cats just to see what would happen if I put them in socks, because they're bad. They're bad girls, and I think it would be really funny to kind of just see what would happen if I put socks on them. But anyways, the Rose City Roller little pattern is really nice and it's really quick. And I will insert a picture of my friend's little baby socks. I knit them in like a range. I didn't really know how to judge how big I should make them, so I cast on the 36 stitches, and then I knit them until they were about 4 inches long. So they should fit her in about 1 to 2 months, hopefully. Ideally by the time it's cold outside. I wanted them to actually work for her, so I'm hoping that when she's 3 months old they fit, which would be good because that's October. That's like sock season. So that's another finished object, so that's 3. I'm not doing too bad. Good job me. I think I'm done though. Okay, anyways, I don't really have anything else really to talk about. Like I said, I'll be in Kelowna next weekend, and then the weekend after that is the September long weekend here in Alberta. I'm gonna try and take some footage of stuff and maybe make a little vlog of my little mini trip to Kelowna. Next month is gonna be super busy because work is gonna be crazy, and I have to get all of my work done in advance because I'm taking a week off to go to Vancouver. So Knit City happens September 30th, October 1st and October 2nd. The marketplace is October 1st and 2nd, but there's going to be a lecture on the 30th that I will be at for sure. If you're going to Knit City, it would be really cool to kind of maybe connect. I know a couple of you are in classes that I'm taking, which is really exciting. I'm going to be in Grok the Sock with Stephanie Pearl McPhee on the Sunday morning, and then I'm taking an intro to brioche with Kate Atherley in the afternoon on the Sunday. And there is a Knit City knit night in the works for the Saturday, so I am going to be really busy. It's going to be really exciting. So I'm leaving for Vancouver on the 28th of September, and I'm there until the 5th, and yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's nice to get away every once in a while, and it's nice to visit friends that live in Vancouver. I have a dear friend to me that I'm going to go and spend some time with, and yeah, it'll just be a nice little break from everything that always happens in Edmonton. So I will probably be back within the next couple weeks to talk with you guys again. Hopefully I'll have a bunch more finished objects because I really feel guilty starting anything new with so many things on the needles right now. So I hope you guys have had a good couple weeks. I will be back in a few weeks. I'm not going to make any promises right now though, just because it's hard to do. I don't want to break them. So I'll try and be back within the next 2 weeks. I might have a vlog for you next weekend, or the weekend after, I mean. Either way, just stay tuned. If you want to kind of hear about what's been going on, or if I'm going to be podcasting or anything like that, Instagram's been a pretty good one for me to kind of let you guys know that. And I think I'm done. Another thing that I was going to talk about that I forgot, Jacqueline from the Brooklyn Knitting podcast is watching my podcast, which is like one of those fangirl moments because I really love her podcast. But she commented on one of the videos, and I haven't gotten back to you yet, Jacqueline, about any of the comments that you've made on previous episodes, but she requested a tour of my craft space. So this will definitely be something that I can do in the future. I want to overhaul my space and actually make it a little bit more functional for me. Right now, there's just stuff everywhere, and my bookcases are really disorganized, and the filing cabinet that I put a lot of my craft supplies in is just kind of a mess. So I'm thinking of actually making a little vlog series of reorganizing it and where I want to put things and how I want things to look, and just kind of make a little feature on it so that I can give you guys a tour, because it's not very big. And out of my office space, I share this with my fiance. So he's got his stuff over there, I've got all my stuff everywhere else, and I'd like it to be a little bit more organized and a little bit more functional, just because right now there's just a lot of stuff that I don't need or that I don't use, and then it just takes up all the valuable space in my office. So I think that's a really great idea, Jacqueline, and I will definitely do that in the future, but just so that I kind of re-emphasize the point as to why I'm not doing it now. Yeah. So there's a reason why I haven't been in this space very often when it comes to podcasting, and mostly it's because the lighting situation sucks. and also just because a bomb goes off every day. And I would like it so that all of the stuff that does go everywhere has a place to stay, or just isn't in here if I don't need it. So that's a great suggestion, and I'll totally do that in the future, just not today. Yeah, other than that, I forgot to do my music segment this week as well. So for the most part, I guess, I feel like a lot of people will be checking out the Tragically Hip on Apple Music or anything like that. But there was another band that I actually wanted to talk about, because one of my friends was in Montreal a couple of weeks ago for the Osheaga. I'm not sure. I've heard like 4 different ways of pronouncing that music festival. But he was in Montreal for that music festival, and Wolf Parade, who is one of my favorite Canadian bands, performed. And they pretty much called it quits and went on hiatus a couple years ago, and I was lucky enough to see them play one of their last shows in Edmonton. But they are a indie post-indie band. They're hard to really quantify with the genre, so I have the Wikipedia page open right now, and they are listed as indie rock post-punk revival. Anyways, they're really synth heavy. They have a lot of really great lyrics in their songs. One of my favorite songs is Dear Sons and Daughters of Hungry Ghosts. I really like the lyrics in that song, and that's the one that I kind of chose to do the intro and outro on this podcast with. I kind of feel like there's a theme when it comes to me recommending Canadian music, and it's really grating male lead vocals so far. The energy that this band has, though, is really exciting, and they're so fun to watch live. They're really intelligent when it comes to their lyrics, and I generally just really like the music a lot. So I would definitely recommend checking out Dear Sons and Daughters of Hungry Ghosts. The song I'll Believe in Anything, If You Believe in Anything, is really good, and that's the song that they used as their... Oh, look.
You don't have to hide it from me.
He's bringing me breakfast.
Who is this? Oh, you're recording your ass.
Thank you. Breakfast. Anyways, there's my fiance, who's wonderful and made me breakfast. I love him. But yeah, they have... Let me just find other songs, because now that I'm doing this, and I'm not... Once again, I'm not prepared. I'm gonna actually, like... For the next time, I'll have the band ready, I'll have the songs ready, I'll have what I want to say ready, but this time I'm just winging it like usual. But the album Apologies to the Queen Mary is one of my favorite albums of theirs, and that's the one that has all the good songs that... all the songs that I've recommended so far. So the other one is You Are a Runner and I'm My Father's Son. I love I'll Believe in Anything, This Heart's on Fire. So I'll put a couple of the songs in the show notes like I usually do, and just kind of recommend just checking them out. If you like high energy, kind of gritty indie rock, I guess. They're a band from Montreal, which is a hub for a lot of Canadian music, and generally just like I really like them, so I thought you should check them out. So I am actually thinking of changing, because I keep forgetting to put these podcasts in my I keep forgetting to put these segments into my actual podcast. So I'm thinking of actually making a regular segment where I just talk music. Music is a huge part of my life. It's something that I miss a lot now that I'm not in a band anymore. I miss that dialogue with music and kind of seeking it out and doing covers and playing. So I'm thinking of actually making a little separate segment, because I know some of you people, my God, some of you guys probably aren't as interested in music and you're just here for the knitting. So I'm thinking of expanding this channel a little bit to be a little bit more well-rounded and talk more specifically about the things that I really enjoy, and not necessarily force you to be part of it if you don't want to. So if you like the knitting thing, that's cool. I might just add a couple other videos with, you know, music or other things that I really enjoy that I want to share. And then you can choose to watch them if you're interested or not. So let me know if you think that's a cool idea, because I think it is, and I'm gonna do it anyways. But if you have an opinion on that works for me too. So once again, I'm sorry for like the disorganized thing. I forgot to include a bunch of stuff, and I always do that, and this time I just wanted to let you know. So I actually kind of like this setting, and the lighting is great, and maybe I'll just do this instead of sitting in the living room, because my cats, they're really loud. Anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of this disorganized mess that was my podcast today. I really appreciate it, and I'll go back to Sarah from the past now. Thanks. So have a good week. Enjoy your crafting, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.